What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor Season 40 Winners at War. Episode 5? I think I
Yeah,
got
I
it
think it's
wrong.
five.
Good. Last time I got it wrong. I thought this was an amazing episode of Survivor. So my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and for probably the first time in this season, I actually got to watch the season live because I didn't have school yesterday because of coronavirus. So, small victories, I guess. Stay safe,
Yeah.
guys. Wash your hands.
I mean, for Berkeley, they just notified us today that all classes are going to be canceled for the rest of the semester. And as you all might know, Alyssa and I are both seniors in college right now. So there's a lot of feels happening. And I'm set to go back home to Maryland next Wednesday. And then it's our spring break after that. And yeah, this could be my last 5 days in college ever, which is very sad to think about. And this is how it ends. We should have enjoyed it more while it lasted, I guess.
But you know what we did enjoy? This episode of Survivor.
I'll be
Except
on the
for,
or East Coast next week, so I can watch it live with you, Alyssa. And now I guess I won't be spoiled. So much depression.
yeah.
So to start out the episode, we do see a tribe swap. We, for this podcast, are going to be starting talking about tribal council and then going back to the other tribes. So we first see the green tribe dynamics, which is Ben, Rob, and Adam, who were on the original tribe together, and then Sarah and Sophie for this five-some. I just want to say, I think Boston Rob looked so sad when he saw that Tyson was voted out, when everyone was walking up on that sand mound island. And then flashback to Marquesas when Boston Rob says that he got tribe swap effed the last time that this happened and he was voted out. And then now watching the episode, I was like, wow, foreshadowing.
Yeah, and I mean, when you think about it, he kind of got tribe swap screwed on All Stars as well because his biggest ally was swapped to the other tribe in the minority. Like, yikes.
Yeah, and I was like, LOL, literally, this threesome for Boston Rob, straight up, probably is the thing that did screw him. Like, you're with two of the people that you already have so much distrust in with Ben and with Adam. And so it's such a fractured trio that it's maybe not salvageable like we saw. It's like if Boston Rob were with maybe like a Jeremy or Michelle or Parvati, that like those people could maybe band together when they're in the majority, even if maybe they don't trust each other 100%, but they are able to band together and then vote out the minority on the tribe. But literally, this threesome is probably like the worst thing to happen.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of the most dysfunctional like threesomes that it could possibly have like been swapped together. Just like I feel bad for all of them because they all must have been sweating a little when it came to whether or not they were going to stick together.
Yeah, so like I don't know. It's interesting because people, when you're on the island, you're probably thinking of different plans for, with a tribe swap happening. Like Red Tribe was probably saying, oh, all of us like each other. We've only been to tribal council twice. All of us are going to stick together. Blue Tribe, I wonder if they had those plans of, okay, say a tribe swap happens. Do we need to stick together, or are all bets off? Are we not sticking together kind of thing? So it's interesting that they did not, I guess they just don't have enough trust within that three to even fake lie to people, because we see on the episode that Boston Rob, Ben, and Adam are literally just spilling all the beans on every single vote, and they don't even try to have a facade of, oh yeah, we were all super close, you're not coming in, there are no cracks kind of thing. But they were just spilling all the beans.
Yeah, and I feel like the plan to vote Boston Rob out kind of evolved from this idea that like, oh, he's the godfather because he did the buddy system on steroids type thing. And I feel like that was kind of the dumbest move ever Because if you really were planning to like get out Sarah or Sophie, you have to assume that one of them has an idol or an advantage or some sort of something. And then if you act like Ben or Adam might vote with them, you can blindside them. Because if the plan was still to vote like Sophie or Sarah and Adam and Ben hadn't flipped, then they would still end up screwed because Sarah would have used her vote steal or Sophie would have used her idol. And I just feel like this entire vote, I felt like, was mismanaged if the goal was to do anything other than vote off Rob. And I'm not sure at what point for Adam and Ben the plan became to vote out Rob.
No, I agree, because for like Boston Rob, this does not make a lot of sense, and I think you can attest to that like Boston Rob's strategy does not change when he plays the game. Like he is trying to do a Redemption Island 2.0 where he's not really adapting, I feel like, to this new kind of gameplay, but he's trying to, like you're saying, Godfather everyone and puppet master everyone into doing his winning game from Redemption Island, which, I guess, doesn't really work on a season of all winners, because if you're playing with new people, sure, maybe you can do that kind of thing where you can do, haha, don't talk to anyone buddy system on steroids. But I think with an all new player tribe, or all returning player tribe, especially all winners, it's not going to work out. And I feel like maybe that's probably part of Boston Rob's downfall, in the fact that he wasn't willing to adapt and he kept on trying to do this Godfather thing, versus a lot of these other winners we see that they can adapt to the game and that they can change their game up when different circumstances arise. But I think it just goes to show, especially in the scene where we see Ben, Boston Rob, and Adam talk, and then one of them brings up the idea like, oh, what if someone over there has the idol or has an advantage? And then Boston Rob is like, oh yeah, then one of us is going home anyway, kind of thing. Like, not even going to think of a backup plan to the actual plan, or even think of ways like, oh, like you were saying, let's pretend like we're with Sophie and Sarah and then ease them into lullness that they are willing to not play their advantages, and then we can blindside them and vote one of them out if the threesome really wanted to stay strong. And I just think maybe that's where Boston Rob went wrong.
Yeah, like, I kind of wonder if this was always the plan all along for Adam and Ben, because like really Adam and Ben aren't playing the shield game the way that like Tony and Sandra, and I guess mainly Tony and Sandra are. Adam and Ben don't at this moment feel like they need to keep a bigger threat around because they don't see themselves as big threats. And, in some ways, I agree with that. Adam is not doing super hot, and neither is Ben. Like, they both have targets, but not because they were like good winners on their season. They have targets because of what they've been doing on this season. And like, part of the reason I'm surprised that Sandra and Sophie decided to vote out Rob instead of like Adam is the fact that both Ben and Rob mentioned how Adam was constantly playing both sides. And it's like, you don't want that on your alliance, especially not in a tribe as small as 5 people. Like, you want someone who will flip and solidly flip to you. And I think that like voting out Adam and then recruiting Ben as like the third person of their alliance would have made more sense. And then just have Boston Rob on the outs as someone who is easy to vote out, rather than like vote out Boston Rob and then have Adam who is like running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and then Ben. So
Yeah, so it seems like that the plan to vote out Boston Rob was created in the 2 days leading up to the immunity challenge that they lost at. Like, it had to have been floating around, because just to not know and then go into tribal council like that seems very not possible, I guess, that no one would play an advantage unless like they were super sure. Or even Boston Rob is going off to a confessional, like he's not around camp, they're probably talking, and then that part was just edited out of the sequence for the episode. And so like, okay, I mean, I guess it makes sense to vote Boston Rob out because 4 people are on board. They don't want to work with Boston Rob. He's dictating everything. They want to play the game and they don't want to sit around camp talking about Oreos and shit all day. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. But voting out Boston Rob, also, like, keeping Boston Rob, it makes a lot of sense because he has no one really to work with. Sure, he can do all of these Godfather things, but if he doesn't have the social capital, like, he's not going to have any plans go his way, like we saw tonight. Other people are going to do other things, and he would be a reliable number, especially since it seems like he's not willing to adapt. He's playing super old school. Then you know he's going to be straight up with you, and you know, he would be a number that doesn't really have anywhere else to go potentially, and that could be a reason to keep him around. Versus with like Sophie and Sarah, they're both people that have social capital, they have good alliances, and especially for Ben and Adam, when they're on the Blue Tribe originally and you know you're already down in numbers, come a merge or something, going even less in numbers from the original Red Tribe seems a little bit risky, I guess. I don't know. I just think like for this vote, there's a lot going on, especially for Ben and Adam. Now it's a 2-2 split, and Sophie and Sarah both have an advantage. So one has an idol and one has a vote steal. Like, one of you is going home next week, especially when two people are going home next week. So is it a good move? You could have voted off Sarah and then Sophie and make it to merge easy with Boston Rob. But now I think like Adam or Ben is going home next week. And for whoever gets voted out, voting out Boston Rob was probably not the move to do this week, because one of them is probably going home if they go to Jeff Probst next week.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that like Sarah and Sophie were 100% sure that Adam or Ben would flip. Like they both have advantages and neither of them felt the need to use an advantage. Like I feel like something must have happened that we didn't see in this edit because they were like uber confident.
I agree, because with the edit, I was like, okay, Boston Rob might go home tonight, but probably because one of them is going to play one of their advantages. And then come tribal council, when like none of these advantages are played and Boston Rob still goes home, I was like, holy crap, you know, to not play your advantages in such a close vote, that is so ballsy. You got to be just so gutsy that this plan was not confirmed from what we've seen with the edit. But like Sophie says in the episode, sometimes you just have to trust a wink. But I agree with you. I feel like something was left out of the edit where the plan was confirmed when Boston Rob was at a confessional or something happened like that, and we just weren't shown it, because I'm like, damn, to not play an advantage in a 5-person tribe and you have 2 advantages. The other threesome could have been bluffing so hard, and Adam and Ben could have been just playing you like, oh yeah, girls, we'll vote Boston Rob just so you don't play your advantage. And it could have all been a big bluff. So I don't know. It's like they could have been playing you and you still, I don't know. It's just wild. Something happened we didn't see.
Yeah, like I kind of knew that Boston Rob was going home because edit-wise it didn't make sense for anyone else to go home, but I thought it would happen slightly differently.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess we'll see next week if this new Green Tribe does go to Tribal Council again, for who this was a bad move for out of Adam and Ben, because both of them must be thinking that, like, I guess they're the closer out of the Sophie and Sarah alliance, that like the third one could be pulled in with Sophie and Sarah, and they both think they're that third person, or the Ben and Adam group think that they can pull either Sophie and Sarah over to them to have a 3-person majority next week. But knowing that those 2 girls have advantages, like, you know, they are sticking together and it's either Ben or Adam going home, which like they don't know, but it sort of sucks. They thought, oh, voting Boston Rob a good move. If you had all the information, maybe keeping Boston Rob and bluffing that you're voting Boston Rob and then you vote Sophie or Sarah would have been a better move, because I think those 2 girls are way more dangerous than Boston Rob is, because Boston Rob has no alliance members anymore because they all got voted out.
Except for Parv.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that kind of wraps up Tribal Council. It did not go the way Rachel or I expected, but it was still, I think, a good episode. I think it was kind of disappointing the way that Rob got voted out, but I guess you can't expect every legend to get voted out with like fireworks or whatever.
It was wild though. It was a good tribal council. I liked the whole entire episode. The tribe swap. So for Red Tribe, we see Jeremy, Jeremy and Denise who are on a tribe together originally, and then Sandra, Tony, and Kim who were on a tribe together originally. And so looking at the numbers, you would think Denise and Jeremy are on the outs, and then they notice that Kim isn't really vibing too much with the Tony and Sandra group. So finally, we're seeing Kim in some kind of power position because I feel like for the stuff we've seen of Kim so far, she's been like on the bottom or on the outs and not really getting her footing. So to see Kim in the swing vote position is good, but it's also dangerous because everyone else could turn around and just vote her out because she's the middle.
Yeah, I think another thing I'm not excited about if Red Tribe ever goes to tribal council, I'm sure a lot of people have been saying this, but I think it bears repeating. Literally everyone on that tribe has an advantage except for Tony. Sandra
Yeah.
has an immunity idol, good for the next tribal council. Kim has an immunity idol, and we got confirmation this episode that Sophie gave her back the half. Um, Jeremy has the safety without power thing, and then who didn't I say?
Denise has the other idol.
Yeah, Denise has the other idol. So it's like if they go to tribal council, like
Tony's getting Sareed out of this game.
yeah, the only thing about this one though is that if Sandra doesn't feel the need to use her immunity idol, it expires. And then Jeremy has to make his decision before the voting happens, whether or not he wants to use his safety without power. So that could kind of balance it.
Yeah, you know what I could see playing out? Like, I think Kim relates more to the Denise Jeremy group from what we saw in the episode. Denise and Kim are also winners of back to back seasons. So that could be like a bonding point for them. Kim and Sandra just like, we've never really ever seen talk. Seems like Kim does not really get along well with Sandra. Like, they just don't have anything in common. So it seems like the Tony Sandra duo will be on the chopping block, even though Tony keeps trying to push the like big dogs need to stick together. I think Kim wants to be more with people that she can work with and she can trust. And she says she hasn't found that out on the island yet. So I really do feel like Kim will go with the Denise Jeremy group. And then when that happens, if Red goes to tribal next week, Sandra, the idol expires, so I feel like you're going to have to play it. There's no reason not to, especially when this is the last tribal council you can play it at. There's no reason not to. So she'll probably play it. And I don't know, with a 5-person tribe, it's very difficult to split the votes. And so the threesome, they might put it on Sandra, and then Sandra plays the idol, and then Tony and Sandra are the two people that get to choose who goes home. But I could see like after Sandra plays the idol, then if they did vote for Sandra, then maybe Denise and Kim would stand up and play their idol as well. And like you're saying, Jeremy could get screwed because he has to play it before the votes. And if you don't think everyone else on your goddamn tribe is going to have some kind of advantage, you probably won't play that. And then it could come down to Jeremy versus Tony as the votes.
Yeah, and I feel like when choosing between Jeremy and Tony, I feel like it would be smarter to always vote out Tony. Like, I can't imagine a scenario right now where Jeremy is more of a threat.
Yeah, if it comes down to that, you could, like, if Kim is going with the Denise and Jeremy duo, then they could vote out Tony. I think this scenario of advantage get-in doesn't happen if the trio wants to vote Tony first, and then Tony doesn't have an idol, and then it works out that, Sandra plays the idol, but it doesn't matter because they played their votes on Tony anyways. But maybe because the idol is expiring, that Sandra tells Tony about it, and those two work together to come up with some kind of plan to save one of them if they realize that Kim isn't going to be with them. So then they can still learn to play the idol correctly. I don't know. It's just a hot mess because Jeremy versus whoever isn't safe by the idol could be going home if everyone else plays their advantage as well, which I don't know, could happen. With 5 people, might as well be safe than sorry, because you don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where if someone stands up to play their idol, someone else might stand up to play their idol, and then the third person might stand up, and then it's left with Jeremy versus Tony. So
Yeah, because it's like once 2 people stand up, which maybe they put the votes on Denise and then Denise stands up, and then you're like, oh, shoot. There's dwindling of the number of people that can actually receive votes. Might as well just play your thing. So that'll be a sad tribal council if that happens. And like only Jeremy and Tony might go home. Or Jeremy decides to use his thing and leaves.
yeah, and then Tony's just like idled out.
Yeah, so I don't know. It just seems that there's a lot of advantages and they're all on this tribe and the green tribe, and where they really need to be on is the blue tribe with Parvati and Michelle, who are in the minority, versus the Yul, Nick, and Wendell trio. So on this tribe, there's a lot of like weird interconnecting relationships. Like Parvati and Yul have played together. Nick has a crush on Parvati. Michelle and Wendell dated. A lot of weird interconnecting relationships, which makes this tribe so interesting.
I feel like it's worth saying that Michelle and Wendell dated, and it sounds like it ended very, very poorly. So, yikes. Like, I feel like there are some Survivor players who have dated, and like if they ended up on a tribe together, it would be chill. But it seems like they are definitely not chill. So.
Yeah, it seems like we heard a lot of the relationship narrated through Michelle's point of view. We heard Wendell when he said him and Michelle kicked it for a bit. I was like, oh, what does kicked it mean? You know, we need some more like definitive terms on this, because kicked it could mean a lot of different things. But yeah, from this, it seems like they ended on bad terms. But I don't know. This tribe seems very strong, so maybe they don't lose next week, because they do also have the advantage of sitting someone out. And it seems that from the previews for next week, Sandra sits out and Michelle sits out, of course.
Sandra sits out? Color me shocked.
So I don't know. I think with this tribe, it'll be interesting if they do go to tribal council, because like the Yul, Nick, and Wendell trio seems very strong. That was the foursome with Sophie from the original Red Tribe, who seemed very, very tight, and that's a very good alliance. So I don't necessarily see them flipping on one another. You know, maybe Wendell catches some heat because of the Michelle versus Wendell relationship thing, and then that's like Parvati and Michelle's way of like trying to get one of the boys to turn on each other. But I just don't see the boys turning on one another because they have such a tight alliance. So I feel like Parvati and Michelle are on the chopping block, and maybe you vote Parvati, but then also maybe you think Parvati has an idol, so then you vote out Michelle. But I don't know. Parvati does have 4 fire tokens now, so she could buy something, hopefully, to help her and Michelle. But seeming like her and Michelle seem very close. The secret scene this week, they were saying that they are like best friends out there. So they might not turn on one another, but turning on one another might be the only thing to stay alive before the merge, which will probably happen next week.
Yeah, I think it's hard because I don't think the boys will turn on each other, but I also think that between Parvati and Michelle, it'll probably be Michelle going home, since like Nick and Yul already have like positive connections with Parvati, and then Wendell obviously like is not chill with Michelle.
Yeah,
so
like might as well vote out your ex, right?
Yeah, that would be like petty, but it would also like make sense. So yeah. I also think depending on who finds the advantage on Edge, like now that Rob's not in the game, who is Amber gonna give it to?
Parvati, I guess. Parvati has a lot of friends on Edge right now, because I could definitely see like Tyson, Rob, Amber, Ethan all giving her something. And so that just leaves like Danny probably not Natalie, maybe because Natalie's been giving it to like the big dogs in the game, people maybe she wants to form relationships with if she's getting back in the game. So I could honestly see Natalie giving it to Parvati too, especially if people on Edge are allowed to talk about like, oh, who did you give your fire tokens to? Or like, oh, who's on the outs? And then if Natalie knows Parv is on the outs, Natalie knows that Parv would pay for an advantage.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, let's be real, with the way things have been going, it's probably Natalie who's going to find the advantage. So
yeah, as long as Danny doesn't find it, I think it's going to Parvati. Like,
I was talking with my friend about it because I watched with one of my friends who is here for spring break. But I was talking with her about it, and she was like, "Well, maybe Parvati will just buy an idol with her 4 fire tokens." And I'm like, "I really hope that she waits until someone from Edge tries to sell her something, because it's a lot less expensive to buy an advantage from Edge than it is to just straight up buy a fire token." So
yeah, so I think that will be interesting this week. Also, we did not see any Edge of Extinction, which someone texted me that since they watched it earlier. And I was at first bummed because I wanted to see Tyson on Edge. But then, I got over it quickly. And I think this just goes to show that you can have a Survivor episode without Edge of Extinction, and it's still a good Survivor episode, because if they tried to squeeze Edge in there with a tribe swap, it would just not go over well. So I really liked how they did not include it this week, so we could get to know the tribe dynamics more fully. And so I think, Edge, you can have this episode or you can have a season without Edge, and people get over it, even with winners. I'm like, oh, I would like to see Tyson, but it's okay, I guess.
yeah, and it looks like we're gonna get Edge next week because Tyson has some shenanigans. But
I'm like, wow, Tyson, we'll see him again.
yeah. Speaking of Tyson, we saw Nick's reaction to Tyson giving him the fire token, and I think it was basically what we anticipated, where Nick was seeing it as kind of like a extended hand, an olive branch, so to speak. So if Tyson does get back in the game, he and Nick might be able to like work something out.
And yeah, I'm hoping this could be foreshadowing, because like, why else would you include Tyson saying, oh, my hero, and then having an actual Nick segment of like, oh, what this meant to him? So another universe, maybe they can work together, and maybe that universe is coming up 2 weeks from now, a week and a half, when the merge happens, and probably Edge of Extinction is someone is coming back in the week after next week.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and the Immunity Challenge this week, this was our puzzle. Alyssa and I actually had this puzzle like created on our channel. It's a DIY challenge that we created, and
we failed. We failed.
but it's something that you should memorize, I feel like, especially because Survivor does do repeat puzzles. This is definitely one that you have to memorize. Alyssa and I screwed it up last time, and so if we don't have any classes anymore, we can get together and figure this puzzle out, because it's definitely one that you can memorize.
Yeah, the person I was watching with is getting a PhD, and one of the things that she studied in undergrad was graph theory. And she was like, you can solve this puzzle with graph theory. She has an entire PowerPoint about how to solve it with graph theory. So I told her she should send me her PowerPoint so I can use graph theory to figure this out.
I think that's what Wikipedia told us to do too when we were trying to figure it out. But I think maybe we just painted it wrong on the cubes, and that's why it wasn't working. Yeah.
There's a WikiHow article on how to do it. So
yeah, and I think a lot of like other Survivor players have like 3D printed this puzzle, is what I was hearing. So if you're going to go play, like, you need to learn this goddamn puzzle.
Yeah, it's so hard, because I feel like that was where it didn't matter that the Red Tribe was so far behind, because they got the insanity thing faster, and then poof, they came in second place.
Yeah, so to round out this podcast, at the beginning of the episode as well, we see a very moving segment about ALS, about Yul talking about his good friend Jonathan Penner and how they kept close after being on the same season of Cook Islands. And I really thought that this was really great, especially for I've been seeing on Facebook so many different people, fans of the show, friends, family, have been affected by ALS. And just so seeing the entire Survivor community come together over this has been really cool to see, especially giving it like primetime television spot, because I feel like we've all heard about ALS through the Ice Bucket Challenge. And then that was like a fad. And then people stopped learning about it, stopped caring about it. But I think with this, it's given ALS such a cool platform, and just seeing like Penner and you'll be posting about it on Facebook and like creating funds so that they can find a cure. It's really, really great.
Yeah, I think it's always nice when Survivor uses its platform because, like, I think it has like an average of like 2 million views per episode or something. But like with that many viewers, it's nice to like use the power for good. And I believe Yule said that if he wins this season, he'll be donating the winnings to an ALS research fund as well.
Yeah, so we urge you all to go out and do some research about ALS. I definitely started like looking it up and stuff after the episode aired just to see everything that it actually is, because definitely on the show they don't have a lot of time to fully explain it and everything. So it was really great. And so, yeah, do your research, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of do your research about the coronavirus. Don't believe everything that you read. Don't panic. Yeah, but we'll be watching Survivor again this coming week because television is still happening for now, and we're really excited to get to share our thoughts about next week. Who do you guys think is going to go home next week? Do you think that it's dead in the water for Adam and Ben, or do you think the Green Tribe will win and they'll make it through? Who do you think is going home from the Blue Tribe or the Red Tribe? We love to hear your thoughts, and we're super excited to see whether or not you guys are right.
Bye.
Bye.